Yeah, so I started doing brothel work back in the day when I first moved to Melbourne. I'm a graphic designer by trade, but I was having a lot of trouble getting a job when I first moved here. And I had a friend who did brothel work. It was just like, oh, why don't you just go down to your local brothel and see if they're looking for people? And it
Mm.
was kind of embarrassing because I called up the nearest place, and they said, yeah, come in for an interview. And like I didn't understand how brothels worked at the time. I
Mm.
actually thought it was going to be an interview. So I literally put on a collared shirt and some nice dress
That's what.
shoes. I went
Yeah.
down there going, okay, like expecting them to go, tell me about yourself. Why do you want to be a sex worker? And they didn't. They're like, oh, here's where the girls' room is and here's where the lockers are. And then I realized that you don't really interview for a brothel. You literally turn up, they assess whether you're, a complete loose cannon. And if you're not, you
Yeah.
literally have the job on the spot.
Yeah. From what I've gathered from being around you is you're just a thirst for knowledge as well, and then you're able to share that to others, and that's what I found really great for me. Knowing you is I've learned so much from you as well, which has been awesome. So I'm
I could
amazed.
say the same of you, actually, mate.
Yeah, well, the last time I actually full on spoke with you, we did our podcast with
Hmm.
Mr. Bez, and that was one of the best ones I've ever done. So yeah,
Oh, it was.
I,
It was
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, I listened to that the other day actually, and shed a tear. I thought that was so good.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're so lucky. We're so lucky to have you and your experience. And we're so lucky that you're able to speak
Mm.
to your experience so insightfully. And yeah, I was really grateful for that. Like, that was such a good chat. It was really good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Got the Satisfaction Project, and check it out if you haven't heard of it before.
I haven't posted an article nor podcast episode for quite a while, but there've been a few times I've been really close. I've got a few
Yeah.
people lined up just waiting to
Yeah.
do the next one. And I've just been so busy. So it's coming soon.
Yeah.
I've also got I have two sets of online learning courses for new escort clients on the
Oh wow.
Satisfaction Project website. And I've
Yeah.
been promising the third, the advanced lessons for ages. At the moment, we've got the beginner intro to seeing escorts and the experts guide to seeing escorts. And then I wanted to do one that was the really advanced stuff, like the really cool out there stuff that you can learn to do with escorts.
Yeah.
And I think I've been promising it for 2 years and I haven't finished it yet, but it's like rough front of mind. I just need to sit down and have some coffee and just smash it out. It's all in my head. I just need to get it on the page. This is the thing, right? Like, we
Mm.
all have these really cool experiences and we've all learned some really cool stuff. And
Yeah.
like, we need to, I'm not saying that the stuff that's in my head is more valuable than what's in everyone else's heads. More that just
Mm.
we should all be getting that stuff out of our heads and sharing it with other
Exactly.
people, whether it's with
Yeah.
other workers that might benefit from hearing the experiences of other people, or whether it's clients that just need to hear, or members of the public that just need to
Yeah.
hear a whole load of diverse experiences. Like,
Mm.
it's really hard. There's all this cool like knowledge and all these awesome stories walking in everyone's heads, and they're just walking around, and we don't have the time.
The fact that we've got a medium to be able to get the things out, as you were saying, that are in our heads, or that we want to teach people that no one was around to teach us, is such a great opportunity.
It's a bit of a miracle, to be honest. I just
Mm.
like, you know, as far I always finish a podcast recording going, man, I talked a lot of shit, and then I listen back and think, oh no, actually there was some gems in there. That's
Yeah.
that's not bad. Just the amount of effort it takes to get out of bed and to share your stuff with people, particularly when it's stuff where you don't know how it will be received. When you're dealing with disability shit,
Yeah.
and even getting out of bed can be hard. And I don't know if
Mm.
it is for you, but for a lot of
Yeah.
folks, it is to actually go that extra mile and take the time to actually share your wisdom with other people. Like, fucking gold star, mate. It's
Mm.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess with us, because it's taken us what, 3 attempts now to be able to do this. So yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. So
Hmm.
yes, it does apply to me as well. So yeah, every time I get to chat to someone, I know how, the journey of actually getting up out of bed and doing what we have to do and be fucking amazing at it is exhausting, but we also love what we do. So it's a win-win.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is really rewarding. And I have tons of friends in the industry who have chronic health or disability stuff that they're
Yeah.
dealing with. And, sex work can be really amazing for
Mm.
folks, because you can pick your own hours so
Yeah,
much.
totally.
And even, I guess, being neurodivergent, there's this really awesome book called Unmasking Autism, which I read a few months ago, that
Yeah.
actually admits that neurodivergent people might choose work such as sex work because it's flexible and it allows them to use their masking skills, things they've already learned to get by in the world, as, saleable, valuable skills, like
Yeah.
learning to mask and to put on a social performance and to socially connect really consciously is a very valuable skill that we should, be paid for, and we are, and that's really cool.
And within yourself, that it's increased your confidence and allowed you to discover more about yourself that you wouldn't have known otherwise.
Absolutely. Like, definitely the practicing of talking
Mm.
to many, many different kinds of people from different backgrounds and with different experiences, talking to people that is dealing with trauma stuff, talking to people that are dealing with disability stuff or that have
Mm.
had really tough life experiences. Like, I love hearing about that stuff and learning.
Same.
It's been really
Yeah.
cool. And then also just like getting to have sex with people with a whole load of different kinds of bodies and
Yeah.
preferences and looks. Like, it just broadened my horizons heaps. I'm not going to say that now I find everyone attractive straight
Mm.
off the bat, but it's definitely, I've sometimes just been with someone and gone, oh no, I do find that kind of body really hot, or I do find that kind of move really hot, or no, actually, people that are quite a bit older than me can be really hot, or people that are, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's so many ways to be hot that aren't just the
Yeah.
conventional ways.
Yeah. And I think it allows the whole industry allows us to look at people in so many different ways and not just the physical, the first thing that we see, it's more spiritual as well. I don't know if you find that.
I think it's very much about connection, because
Yeah.
I think if I met someone and absolutely loathed them, I wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
do the
No.
booking. But that has never happened.
Good.
You can always find something that's likable at someone, even if they're a difficult person. Usually there's something that reminds you of
Mm.
their humanity, the trust you get when you meet someone, and talking to someone isn't a guarantee that everyone's 100% safe. But
Mm.
I've really, I think 15 years or 16 years of kind of back and forth has given me a pretty good gut feel for whether someone is a good person to be around and whether we're going to get along. I've also written a book called The Art of the Hookup, and that's about picking up really well. So picking up using consent and having casual sex that's really ethical, but really enjoyable, using the skills, right? So using
Yeah.
things like traffic light safe words and using your words, and having, being good in bed, all that kind of stuff. And it's a different audience, but the skills are the same. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
communication, consent, feeling safe, all that kind of stuff.
What inspired you to write that?
I think probably what inspired it for me was the terrible, terrible hookups I had on dating apps. And I've been hooking up on dating apps for a long time. And then before dating apps existed, I was going to clubs and pubs
Yeah.
and I was picking up all over the fucking place. And I've had a lot of really bad sex, because when you're in your 20s, I don't know, it depends on everyone's experience, but when I was in my 20s, I did not know what I was doing. And the people that I had sex with didn't know what they were doing. And we just like awkwarded all over each other.
God.
And it was real awkward and weird. And oh my God. And it just, like, I wish I'd known this stuff. I wish I'd known all the stuff I learned as a sex worker back
Yeah.
then, because man,
Yeah.
I would have been having such good sex.
Yeah.
I just wish everyone knew. So I just tried to, the book was an attempt to get that stuff out there. Like, it's not
That's so good.
rocket science. It's just communication, like having a few good lines, having good touch, stuff like that. Like, we can all learn to do this. So it was kind of, I really hope we can spread that stuff around a bit more, because life is too short to have bad sex.
Well, as you say, like no one teaches us this stuff. So having that book is
Right?
a really good resource. So yeah, I'm glad
They
you
teach you how to put a condom on in school, but they don't
Yeah.
teach you that sex should be fun, and that if it's not, you should probably stop.
Yeah.
Or, that sex can be amazing if you put some time into learning how to touch people well or kiss well, that kind of stuff.
Well, I guess, back when we were at school, they don't want to feel responsible for anything. So therefore they don't tell you anything
No,
apart from, the basic putting a condom on. Which is because,
they didn't want to encourage you to actually have sex.
yeah.
I like to give myself a bit of a pat on the back sometimes. Like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say every booking changes people's lives, but sometimes you
Mm.
know that it's gone really well and that it's had a really good effect. And yeah, like I'll sit down afterwards and pour myself a glass of wine and be like, yes, good
I
job.
did
And
that.
I
Yeah.
feel really good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you
that's
have
great.
those? Do you have those ones where
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, that went well?
Yeah. It doesn't happen very often, but yeah, I do. And I'm like, I try and bath in the glory for a few days afterwards. But I'm just like, so
Oh.
I've still got this. Because as I get older, obviously, due to my disability, my body kind of changes a little bit, so it gets harder to
Hmm.
do things. But when I have a winner, I'm just like, yes, I've still got it. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a bit of that post COVID because we were locked away for so long. I kind of
Yeah,
lost a bit of
right.
my social skills. And so
Oh,
it
didn't we
was
all?
really good. I know it was so bad because I'm on the autism spectrum, which means that all my
Mm.
social skills are learned. And then
Dang.
if I don't practice them, I start to get rusty. And I
Yeah.
got out of COVID going, will I still be able to do this job? Am I ever going to be able to pick up again? Like, am I going to just going to be
Ah.
awkwarding all over everyone? And it was so nice to come back and do those first few bookings and go, no, I've still got it. Like,
How
this is
did you
good.
go
I
on
can
your
still
first
do
one?
this.
How did you go on your first one with feeling that way? Oh, you poor thing.
I'm trying to remember what the first one was now. I think it was probably with a regular. I think the
Yeah, well,
regulars
that's
that I hadn't
good.
been able to see, we just,
That's
yeah,
good.
I got
Yeah.
straight back into it. But
So
so it
how,
took a while before the confidence came back.
yeah, right. So how did you go through COVID actually when we were all locked down and it was all crazy?
Oh,
How did you pass
well,
the time
I
away?
was
Did you
fine.
fight? Yeah.
Like I was lucky because I actually got a bit of a side gig, a bit of an admin job at the time.
Oh,
So
good.
I managed to coast through, which is not what happened to a lot of people.
Yeah,
Like
wow.
I have friends who lost their entire life savings. I know people who
Oh,
didn't
shit.
have savings and they were fucked. And of course,
Yeah.
all this scrutiny on sex workers during COVID, of course, we're the first people that the media and the government decide to pick on as
Uh-huh.
apparently vectors of disease. We know that's not true, right? We know
No.
that sex
Yeah.
workers have, on average, really, really good infection control practices,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like we're pros at this. So it was really annoying and disheartening to see the media hysteria that went up around that. And some people were picked on. Some people had to work through COVID, even though the Victorian government tried to stop us,
Oh,
because
so
like
bad.
they need to eat
Yeah.
and they need to pay the rent. What are you going to do?
Yeah. I mean, what do
And
you
like
do?
no shade on that.
Yeah.
Hmm. So
And
but that would be a very stressful thing for someone to have to
mm,
do for a position to them to be in. And oh, geez, I can't even imagine.
yeah, and I mean, for those workers that are phased in as well, they can't even transition to online work. So then what do you do? I mean, I was super lucky because I was already an online whore anyway, but as well,
Oh, yes.
yes. So I scraped her okay, but because a lot of people were at home, so I was essentially an essential worker, which that's what
Hmm.
I called myself to keep myself going. But
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
essential and I need to be here for all these people that are sitting on the couch
Right.
doing nothing. But yeah, for those people that are faced in, I can imagine it would be so, so bloody difficult to.
Oh, so hard.
Mm,
Yeah. Just like, they always say that sex work is like the oldest profession and the profession you can always fall back on.
yeah,
Not, but during COVID, we found out that actually it's not always
yeah,
the profession you can always fall back on. And
no,
yeah, that was real
oh,
hard. It's
yeah,
super annoying that,
yeah,
that governments and that the media tend to fixate on sex workers whenever there's some
bizarre,
sort
isn't
of
it? Yeah,
outbreak or some sort of danger, like because we're already seen as dangerous, it's really
yeah,
easy to do that rather than looking at,
mm,
actual practical causes and effects and harm minimization actions and all the stuff that they should be doing to actually have a positive effect. It's
yeah,
annoying to see people just fall back on the same shitty tropes. And I hope that that won't happen as much. Like we have
no,
sort of decrim in Victoria now. It's not full
yeah,
decrim, but it's almost full decrim. And we have the anti-discrimination laws that
finally,
say you cannot be finally that
yeah,
say you cannot be discriminated against on the basis of profession. And it's a little bit of a shame that they didn't mention sex work specifically, but still,
yeah,
that's that. So I really hope that folks can start to push back now against us being picked on just because we're
yeah,
sex workers, because it's just
yeah.
not okay.
I guess the great thing about this industry too is there's something for everybody. And I guess for you and I, particularly, I don't know for you, but when I first got in the industry, it's the only place I felt really at home and really accepted because
Mm.
there's something for everyone. And so I may not
Yeah.
be everyone's cup of tea, and you may not be either, but there is some, we are
Hmm.
someone's cup of tea. So, you
Yeah.
know, and
And not only someone's cup of tea, but you can blow someone's mind. Then you can go have that glass of wine and go, yeah, I have
that's
changed
it.
their life. Not all the time, but sometimes enough to go, yep, I'm doing good.
I mean, there's still a bit of exclusion, but it's the most that I've felt accepted being as unique as I am. And we're all unique in all our different ways. So I get, yeah, I've just found that. So I'm glad that you have too.
Thanks for sharing your experiences around that too. Like we just we just need to talk about it. Like
Mm.
we can definitely be doing better as
Yeah.
well. Like I hear you about feeling accepted, and I have felt that too. But we could also
Mm.
be doing better about you know treating disability as just a thing, because so many of us are disabled or have chronic health stuff or have mental health stuff or have neurodivergent stuff that make our lives tricky in the regular world.
Yeah.
Like I just, sometimes it'd be really cool if we got our heads around that so that you didn't have those experiences.
Yeah. And I mean, disability doesn't mean necessarily physical, it can mean a whole range of
Right.
different things. So, yeah. And people just need to get their heads around that. And it's a huge thing that
And
you're,
understand
yeah. And there's
and,
also,
and treat it like a regular thing, which it is.
for sure. And yeah, there's even like invisible disabilities, which we've talked about. And, so people are all spicy in their own ways.
Right. Oh, people are spicy in their own ways. Yeah,
Mm.
I would put that on a t-shirt.
Do you ever have any downtime? It doesn't sound like you do.
No,
No, you're
no,
very
no.
much like
Like
me. Yeah.
I I go on holiday and then I start working on my side hustle. I can't stop.
Love it. Yeah.
But uh, I had a teacher back in high school who used to say I'll sleep when I'm dead, and I think that's where I've
That's what you
landed. So
do. Yeah.
I really love chatting with you. Like, thanks for inviting me on your podcast. I'm still super impressed that you're doing two at the same time. And also, we always have such a good yarn. I really like
Yeah.
it.